Good morning. Welcome to Unity. Welcome to this special time, this special place where we open our minds and our hearts to the presence of God, to the presence of each other, and to the depth within ourselves. So, Unity Rochester is a place where we acknowledge that our God is love, our race is human, and our faith is oneness. It's a safe place. Go ahead. So you can let go at this time. Let go and open up. Allow every part of your life to be open to the transforming presence of pure being. The daily word today is about letting go and letting God. We can do that with every breath. Just let go as you exhale, and as you inhale, let God fill you up. Our topic today is listening, and the title is the surrender of deep listening. Because in order to really listen to someone, to listen and take in what's going on, we have to surrender our own thinking, surrender our judgments, surrender our itinerary or timetable. Deep listening moves us to a place of prosperity, healing, harmony, purpose, and peace. So let's begin with the classic Unity affirmation that I am centered and poised in the mind of Christ. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. I am centered and poised in the mind of Christ. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. Let yourself open up to the calm peace of your soul. Open up to the calm peace of the mind of Christ. And in that openness, all things are possible. We can work out whatever is necessary. Know that. We can work it out. right. All right. Well, we're in the middle of a spiritual study of the book See No Stranger by Valerie Kaur. She's a Sikh woman and writes this book from the perspective of her spiritual tradition, a warrior tradition. And she's a civil rights activist and a peace activist, a filmmaker, an attorney. She's an active person that wants to address the division that comes from our disconnecting with each other, of not being comfortable with someone who's different, of being caught up in differences and being saying some people are for us and some people are against us. She has some excellent principles in here for establishing oneness. Oneness in society, oneness in different ethnic groups and different nationalities and different races. The same principles apply to our establishing a sense of oneness within ourselves. Oneness for healing and vitality, for prosperity and for a sense of purpose and harmony and peace in our lives. We started off with wonder, being interested, being open to someone who's different, wondering about it. And it's opening our mind. The second one was opening our hearts to people that are different, opening our hearts to different situations. She called it grieving. I'm calling it compassion. You know, being open to someone else's feelings, to someone else's pain. Then we talked about recognizing anger, energy we might have about something that would disturb us. There's a lot of energy in anger. And it's important to be conscious about the energy that we store within us. So we called that place the shadow, where we sometimes bury things that we don't want to look at or that we don't want other people to see about us. So we try to hide it. Well, oneness, wholeness requires an openness to be honest about everything that's going on. Last week we talked about standing up for something, standing up to something. Her topic is fight. Whenever you're working with an opponent, you might have to stand up and fight. So that's taking a stand, speaking your mind, standing up for something or to something. We need to be careful about when we do that, so that we do it at the right time. We do it when it's right for us. There are some people that stand up and take a stand and all the time. There are times whenever we let things go. There are times when we take a stand. Today's topic is listening. Listening to opponents. You listen to the others. So let me use her own words here about listening in the context of dealing with adversaries or even enemies. I do not owe my opponents my affection, warmth, or regard, but I do owe myself a chance to live in this world without the burden of hate. The more I listen, the more I am free to choose actions that are controlled not by my animosity, but by my wisdom. Listening is strategic. It enables us to fight in smart ways, gain critical information about how to respond to greed, insecurity, anxiety, blindness, in ways that hold the opponent accountable, and fight the institutions that empower the opponents. How do you listen to people that you don't want anything to do with? The goal of listening is not to feel empathy for our opponents, or to validate their ideas, or even to change their minds at the moment. Our goal is to understand them. Listening does not grant the other side legitimacy. It grants them humanity and preserves our own. So, dealing with actual opponents to make a difference in our community or in our country, that's the context that she's talking about there. But listening to gain understanding is effective across the board in our lives. It's valuable not only in dealing with different people, with the other. It's useful in dealing with ourselves, listening to ourselves, listening to our loved ones, and listening to God. So, it's the word about listening. Listening is an active, conscious activity. Think about the difference between listening and hearing. Hearing's passive, listening is active. It's like the difference between seeing and watching, or seeing and observing, or evaluating, or looking, or peering. Oh, we have a lot of words in English for that, different shades of meaning about seeing. But listening and hearing, okay, so it's a conscious activity. It's something that we need to choose to do. It's a skill that requires some practice. So we need to be intentional about it. And the more intentional we are, the more conscious we are, the better we get at it. So it's pointed out in a lot of different communications that too often when we're in a conversation with someone, we may be hearing them, but they may not be listening. Because when you're talking to me, I might be thinking about what you're saying. I might be thinking about what I want to say in response to what you've said. What you've said has triggered something in me, and I'm thinking about, and I'm off on some trip about what that triggered, or I'm thinking, okay, there's one thing I'm going to object to, I'm going to agree with that. So that's not listening. That's not being in a conversation. That doesn't create unity or resolve differences. It might be, instead of just thinking about what I'm going to say in return, I might be thinking that's not true. That doesn't matter. I could dismiss something. Or I might think, how could they possibly think that? Do judgment or something. And in that process, I miss whatever message is being sent my way. If we want to connect with each other, we need to listen to each other. We need to receive the messages that are sent. So, it's a valuable exercise in couples work, in helping couples enrich their relationships. So there's a bunch of names for this: nonviolent communication, or the communication wheel, or the reflective listening. And it's not complicated. If you say something to me, I repeat back to you what you've said to make sure that I got the message. And then, whenever that's been confirmed, then I might respond. Or I might invite you to say more. Now, that really only works if they're manageable sizes of just a few sentences. If you're saying something to me and it takes several hundred words, it's hard for me to reflect back the whole thing. And so they need to be bite-sized pieces. So the principle is kind of like what air traffic controllers and pilots do. The air traffic controllers said, come to this heading at this elevation at this speed, and the pilot will say, okay, this heading, elevation, and speed. Repeat it back. Yep, I got the message. We can only get the message when we listen. And one way to listen is to prepare to repeat it back. It works really well. It's not natural. It's not automatic, but it works. It's very effective. It's effective for relationships. So, works for loved ones, works for strangers. Works for ourselves, too. How well do you listen to yourself? Do you listen to your body? Your body might give you information, might be sending you a message, pain or discomfort. So what do? And we take a pain medication. My yoga teacher said, you have to listen to your body. If you get a little pain, you listen to it. You ask it what it is, what it's trying to tell you. If you ignore it, it's like breaking the warning light that comes on the dashboard of your car. Check engine. No. Break the light. Okay? Ignore it. Okay? We do that same thing sometimes with our bodies. We need to listen to ourselves, to be conscious about what's going on. We need to listen to our thinking, be aware of our impulses. Otherwise, we go bouncing around reacting rather than choosing how to respond. So we listen to our thoughts. There's a truism now in New Thought. Don't believe everything that you think. Don't believe everything that you think, because there are a lot of things in our minds that have been poured into us as children, pounded into us by advertising and the culture, and we need to listen to the thought and say yes or say no. Thoughts come from a lot of different places. Listen to the ideas that you get. Listen to the things that may come up in inspirational moments. Phrases that you see on in reading or something in a movie or on television. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I want to remember that. You listen for inspirational things. This is like paying attention to your dreams. It's like listening to your deep inner self. Okay, I'll tell you. This week I've been in dialogue with a number of ministers about shadow work. You know, we talked about shadow work in the last few weeks here and talking about grief and anger and fear and loss. And unity is beginning to opening up to that, to become aware of the full range of things that are within us, and then unplugging some things that are inappropriate, using denials and releasing them, and affirming the things that we want. And so I've had several conversations in minister discussion groups about this, along with talking about it for the last few weeks here. I had a nightmare last night. It's been a long time since I've had a nightmare. It was fear. So I was in a dark basement, and there was something behind a door, and the lights wouldn't work. So I left the basement. But I was scared. The fear was real. So I thought, what do I do? Oh, I can just turn over and go back to sleep. No, I sat up. I got up and said, whoa, what was that about? And spent some time listening, watching. I still don't know what it was about, but I will. I believe I've started a process that is going to reveal something from the depths within me that needs to be addressed. So, we listen deeply to ourselves. We listen for obstacles within ourselves. We listen for our inner knowing about things, our inspiration. We listen for, is this something for me? We might say, is this mine to do? Just because we get an idea about something doesn't mean that we have to act on it. You know? Is this something that I need to let go of and release and take the power away from? Is there something that is possible? Is this an inspiration for what's possible? Is this an orientation toward my purpose? What resources are available? That's deep inner listening. Listening deeply within brings us to the point of listening to the divine. Listening for the divine. There's a long established tradition of listening, inner listening, including listening for the divine as a meditation technique. It's called mindfulness from the Buddhist tradition. You listen. You close your eye, you get ready, you relax your body, do a few conscious breaths, and then become a witness, become an observer, become a listener. And notice the thoughts that come up. Notice the feelings that are present. Notice the impulses that appear. There are a number of places in the Gospels where Jesus tells his disciples, watch. Watch. Consciously look. Don't just see, but be attentive. Pay attention and look at what's going on and see it. Watch. So watch and listen. And as the thoughts come up, you might identify them. You just notice them, you watch them, you listen to them, and in the meditation practice, you let them pass. It's an inner practice. Okay. We're going to do a listening meditation now. This is a good exercise to do when you wake up at 3:15 in the morning. And it's like, why do I wake up in the middle of the night? There's a story about waking up in the middle of the night. It's from 1 Samuel, 3rd chapter. An old story about when Samuel was a boy, he was an apprentice to an old priest named Eli. Eli needed some help, and Samuel was there to help him. Okay? Middle of the night. Samuel was asleep, and he heard his name being called. Samuel. Got him? Yeah, okay. Went in to see Eli, and he said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. What is it, sir? What can I do for you? And Eli said, what? I didn't call you. Go back to sleep. He went back, he laid down, dozed off. Samuel! Yeah, got up, went in. Yes, sir. What is it? What are you doing? Boy, no, I didn't call you. Go back to sleep. The third time that happened, Eli was wide awake. And Eli figured something's going on here. That God was calling Samuel. That there was something that Samuel needed to listen to. So he said, okay, if that happens again, this is what I want you to say. Say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. He got a call again. He sat up. He said, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. And he got a whole list of things to do. He got a commission. This works. If you sit up, if you wake up in the middle of the night, you can lay there, or you can sit up and say, speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. Or it might just be, okay, I'm listening. What do you want? And then listen. Watch. Wait. When I do that, more often than not, I don't get some clear message or inspiration. But if I do that for 10 minutes, I can go right back to sleep. I've had some experiences of an option, an answer, a possibility for something that I'd been working on. Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. Okay, so we're going to use that as an affirmation, as an invitation for us to hear in a time of silence, where we see the thoughts, hear the thoughts, where we are a witness to the activity of the mind, and we're listening, watching, waiting, and so. We begin by using the words of the Lord's Prayer. Using the Lord's Prayer to move us to a place of receptivity. So we go for the name of God. Using us. Thy will be done. Give us this day our daily bread. Feed me. So I can do your work here. My needs for today are met. Help me to be free of what would hold me back. Free me from regret and resentment. Help me to forgive. Strengthen me to recognize and overcome temptation, to release what does not serve me, and protect me from the chaos and the immaturity of others. Thine is the kingdom. I consent to your kingdom. I say yes to the consciousness of pure being. Enter into that presence and power. Enter into that presence and power, listening, consciously available, watching, letting the thoughts move without getting caught up on them. Mindfully aware of the activity of mind and of the emotions. Listening. You might say, "Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening." Speak, Lord. I am listening. Here I am, Lord. I am listening. I am watching. I am waiting for you in the silence. Here, now, listening, watching, waiting in the silence. Remember this peace. Remember this quiet peace. Is there anything else that you want to remember from this time? An idea, a word, an image. Something to do. Something to say. Someone to connect with. Whether there is or not, we give thanks. We recognize God as the source of all good. We recognize that presence and power that is within us, that moves through us, that calls us to grow and be instruments of God's peace. Thank you, God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. Amen. Feeling this sense of peace, with whom would you share this? We can extend this consciousness of presence and power throughout time, across space. Who do you feel an urge to bless? We bless others with the light and the love and the presence and power from this deep place of presence. Hold them in your heart. Open your mind to them. Imagine holding their hands and declare the words of the prayer for protection for all of us together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Wherever we are in the flow of abundant goodness. Infinite love and wisdom seeks to flow through us, into us, and through us to bless the world, to support the ongoing growth of each other and all of creation. And so that is our giving. That's our God-giving. In our words, in our thoughts, in the steps that we take, in the gifts that we give. What we give is multiplied by the goodness of God and comes back to us. Comes back to us to flow through us and back out from us again. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. And that's the truth. And we're grateful. And in that gratitude, let there be peace on earth. Peace, peace, peace.